People love to look at a resume and ask questions they think are clever. You got a degree in culinary arts and commercial food. Why aren't you running a line somewhere? Or you love painting and you got the supplies, so why aren't you filling canvases? And it's a fair enough inquisitory if you look at life as a neat little spreadsheet where every skill has to stay locked in a little box. But life doesn't always work like that, and neither does creativity. Let's talk about the kitchen first. In a commercial kitchen, it's the masterclass in controlled chaos. It's heat, timing, and sharp steel, and the relentless physical demand. I know my way around the physical demands of a kitchen. I know how to build the flavor profiles from scratch and how to orchestrate a service and how to feed a crowd until the plates come back spotless. That is the undeniable proof. When you cook or bake for the people you care about, it's an act of pure, tangible love. You hand someone a warm loaf of bread or a plate of food, and for a few minutes you've given them shelter. You've given them comfort. But with food, it vanishes. You spend the hours prepping and executing and pouring yourself into the meal, and sometimes within a few minutes to 45 minutes, the food is gone. The plates are in the sink, and the counters are scrubbed clean. And sooner or later, that hunger returns. Cooking is an act of survival, masquerading as an art. It sustains the body, but it cannot architect your way out of a situation sometimes. It cannot heal the mind. You can't bake your way out of a memory. You can't simmer regret until it dissolves. And paint is a different kind of trap. I love painting. I love the weight of the brush. I love the texture of the paint. I love the way the colors bleed together on the surface to match the mood or the shadow. But the canvas is fundamentally silent. It cannot hold a feeling. It can hold the feeling, frozen in a moment, amber. An amber can look silent. It can look striking on a wall. Yet it cannot argue back. It cannot unpack a complex, jagged history. It can show you a storm. It cannot tell you how to survive the lightning that is brought on by that storm. So why do I keep crawling back to a blank document at 2 a.m.? Because there is neither a chef's knife nor a paintbrush that can do the one thing I actually need to create. I'm created to do. The kitchen are built for service. Canvases are built for reservation. Words are built for dismantling. When you carry history that heavy, the past you don't chat about over a polite brunch, you quickly realize that the decoration art is useless. You can't plate up trauma with a sprig of rosemary. You can't frame an old ghost behind glass and pretend it isn't scratching to be let back into your skull. Writing isn't a hobby, it's an extraction protocol. Think what happens when you sit down to write a fiction or narrated prose. You aren't just rearranging nice sounding phrases. You're dragging the wreckage out into the cold light of day. You're taking the exact weight of a difficult history, pinning it to a sentence, and forcing to look you in the eye. That's the eviction notice. In a painting, if a stroke goes wrong, you paint it over and call it abstract. In cooking, if the sauce breaks, you start the reduction again. But in writing, you have to stare directly into the rot. You have to trace the line of why things broke and how they broke and what cost you have to crawl from underneath the rubble. People ask me why I am so dang intense about the page. It is because the page is the only place where the ledger actually clears. When you write, you have to take the chaos that's been rattling inside your chest for decades. The exhaustion, the survival instincts, the medical portal auditing at midnight, the quiet endurance you translate into language over human beings who can comprehend. You aren't just making things up. You are finding the precision coordinates of your own survival and mapping them into a black and white. If writing was only about getting out of my own head, I'd probably just keep a private journal and burn it every Sunday. I don't do that, and neither do writers who matter. We write because people sitting out there in the darkness. You see, when you've been tired as long as some of us have, you start to recognize that specific silence of isolation. You know what it feels like to think you are the only one that carries a particular kind of heavy. You know what it is like when a room full of people feel entirely alone, definitely alone with your history. Pain can't reach that room. Grab a stranger by the shoulder. Plate of food can't whisper, I know you can't sleep, and you're going to make it anyway. A well-crafted sentence can. When you pull a raw, bleeding, honest truth out of your own past and forge it into a story, you're doing the heavy lifting, not just for yourself, but for someone else. You're handing them the flashlight. You're telling them, look, I have been through this exact swamp. The ground is treacherous. The air is heavy. It's thick. But here is where the sinkholes are. Here is how you keep walking. This is why Ash and Oak Press doesn't deal in the influencer fluff. We don't deal in the pastel platitude or toxic passivity. If you're looking for someone to tell you that everything happens for a reason and to slap a cheerful sticker on a deep wound, you're on the wrong channel. Real healing isn't pretty. It is messy. It is stubborn. It requires a technical reality. It requires someone willing to look at the mess and roll up their sleeves and say, let's deal with it. So no, I'm not trading my kitchen apron for a permanent writing desk because I hate cooking. I love it. I will still feed the people I care about into the table groans under the weight of the dishes. I'm not throwing away my brushes either. There's a place for color, just like there's a place for flavor. But when it comes down to the core of who I am, the part of me that survived the complicated past, the part of me that audits reality at 2 a.m., that refuses to look away from the hard truth, there's only one tool that gets the job done: the ink. We don't write to make things look nice for polite company. We write because the alternative of letting the past swallow you whole, paint it, cook it, serve it on fine china, none of that clears the ledger quite like the hard truth written down in black and white. Grab whatever hard hat pill organizer you need for the journey, but you're going to stay here in the trenches with us to understand one thing. We aren't here to play dress up. We're here to ride our way out, leave a trail of lanterns for everyone else trying to find the door. So if you want to hear the journey of how to chase your dreams, how to find your voice when the monkey keeps throwing things at you, like, subscribe, and follow along on the Ashen Oak Press Hub as we jumble everything together, as Anna and I am Mariah, and follow along on this journey.